On a night that should have cemented the WNBA's momentum, everything changed. Caitlin Clark, the league's rising engine, its most watched, most discussed, most marketable player, was suddenly sidelined with quad injury that will keep her out for a stretch the league could least afford. The timing, optics, and ripple effects could not be more consequential. This is a league that has fought for relevance, sold partnering narratives, secured charter flights, added new broadcast windows, and finally found itself on the lips of casual sports fans. And then the one player who most reliably pulls people into the tent, Caitlin Clark, is out. If you're looking for emotion, you didn't have to wait long. Fans were angry, deflated, and worried. Executives were tight-lipped. Talk shows ignited. And on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith didn't sidestep the obvious. He raised his voice, drew up the numbers, and asked a question nobody in the WNBA's leadership wanted asked on live television. Does the league understand what Caitlin Clark represents? And if it does, why didn't it do more to protect its biggest star? Smith's critique was blunt, often uncomfortably so, but core to it was a point that even WNBA-friendly analysts have made for months. Star-driven sports need star-centered strategies. And in 2024, no individual athlete has done more for the WNBA's top line, attendance, viewership, merchandising, than Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever led the WNBA in attendance both at home and on the road during Clark's rookie season. They averaged more than 17,000 fans at home and over 15,000 as visitors. Teams moved games into larger venues when Indiana rolled into town because the demand was that high. Those weren't gimmicks. That was organic fan energy anchored to a player whose college success and professional transition created a wave nobody saw coming this fast. The ratings tell the same story in sharp relief. Nationally televised games featuring Clark averaged well over 1 million viewers. Games without her hovered around a third of that. One marquee broadcast this season drew 2.7 million viewers, making it the most watched WNBA game on ESPN in the modern era. Even on CBS, Indiana's early season outing against New York drew 2.22 million viewers, an astonishing number for a spring regular season contest. These aren't borrowed metrics or selective slices. These are the central financial facts that drive league growth, eyeballs, and ticket scans. So when Clark is removed from the equation by injury, not by choice, this isn't a minor programming headache. This is a live stress test of the WNBA's business plan. And Stephen A.'s anger, stripped of theatrics, was about what that test is likely to reveal in real time. Without Clark on the court, attendance softens, secondary market tickets drop, promo partners get jittery, networks brace for lower ratings, and a casual fan, the person who was finally flipping to a WNBA broadcast on Wednesday night, loses a habit. This is an uncomfortable truth, but it's one that any professional league ignores at its own peril. Stars are the waterline. The responsibility of leadership is to recognize that fact early enough to build, protect, and monetize around it. If you heard Smith's long-form commentary, you heard something else beneath the ratings sheet. Frustration from within the league that has been simmering since Clark arrived. Players who have carried the WNBA's hope for years with little attention watched a younger, wildly popular rookie enter, and suddenly sponsorships multiplied and broadcast windows opened. That kind of whiplash can sting. The jealousy narrative is easy and lazy if you use it to smear, but resentment in a more precise sense is understandable. Many veterans work through seasons of near-empty gyms and low contractual recognition. They want respect too. Some have said so openly. Others let their game do the talking. Some have directed their frustration at Clark. Others are how the league, media, and sponsors have covered her. What Smith argued loudly is that using Caitlin Clark's popularity as a wedge to debate merit misses the forest of the trees. She is not responsible for who did or did receive marketing in prior seasons. She can't control the demographics of new fans. She didn't appoint herself face of the league. What she did, intentionally or not, was make the WNBA a weekly topic of conversation across platforms that had ignored it for years. And he argued, a league that recognizes that reality quickly, builds around it, and develops protective structures to ensure that star remains on the floor will be healthier for everyone. A rising tide lifts all boats does not have to be a tired cliche. It can be a business strategy. protective structures. That's where his rage spiked. Clark has been on the receiving end of excessive physical play for months. Some of it is normal. Every league tests its rookies physically. But more than once, contact on Clark has gone beyond what wise officiating allows when a league's survival depends on keeping at least one multiplayer storyline intact. Rivalries, comebacks, shootouts, highlights. The WNBA, in Smith's view, failed to ring-fence that reality. League leadership and officiating crews, by not issuing consistent early warnings and disciplining clearly unnecessary contact, sent a message they didn't intend. Our most valuable star will get the same whistle as everyone else. Equality sounds noble. In business terms, it's a mistake. The NBA understood decades ago that superstars drive interest, and interest feeds every player's paycheck. That doesn't mean rigging games. It means setting a tone that the product must be protected. Everyone benefits when the best players stay healthy, play deep into the season, and meet in high-stakes games. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has not been asleep at the switch. Under her watch, the WNBA installed full-time charter travel, expanded media partnerships, boosted salaries, and helped secure major national sponsors. But Smith's critique lands because the gap between operational progress and on-court protection remains stubbornly visible. When a player who draws crowds like few before her is repeatedly hit by borderline plays that would be called differently for analogous stars in other leagues, it's fair for public to ask, where's the line and who is drawing it? The injury news forced the question into the open. Fans who had circled fever games on the calendar, some of them moved to larger arenas to meet demand, now confront empty sections and resale prices cut in half. Broadcast networks that touted must-see TV. Windows must now update graphics and scale down expectations. Social media is filled with posts from fans who say they will wait to watch until Clark returns. This is not a referendum on the WNBA's overall quality. It is a referendum on the business math the league needs to confront honestly. In fairness, there are voices inside the sport who are tired of Clark being presented as a one-woman show. No league is about one player, as Engelbert herself has said. And that's true in the long run. Legacy leagues are defined by their ability to turn a pipeline of stars into a continuum. But no league gets the luxury of the long run unless it survives the short run. The short run belongs to Caitlin Clark. The league's job is not to diminish that. It's to leverage it. Now, it is too easy to turn this into a personal grievance between Clark and a rival like Angel Reese. The media have leaned into this narrative because rivalries sell. Reese is charismatic and smart. She's also polarizing in ways that invite clicky headlines. She knows how to weaponize social media. That doesn't make her a villain. It makes her a contemporary athlete who understands what brand building means in 2024. The same goes for Clark. She didn't just show up to play. She showed up with a college-built audience in the millions. The healthy play here is to reframe this as what it actually is: a marketplace. Players are not one-dimensional. Many of them, including Reese, are lifting the league's profile in different ways. That is a net positive. Rivalry narratives should complement, not cannibalize, the paths stars use to grow the WNBA's footprint. Still, the numbers are the numbers. Clark's debut this season was the single most watched WNBA game ever on ESPN. 6 different broadcast partners set viewership records last year. WNBA store sales doubled, driven heavily by fever jerseys. Attendance rose by double digits across the league. In city after city, families who had never attended a WNBA game put fever nights into their summer plans. This is what an economic engine looks like. Neglecting to protect the engine is negligence. Once you admit that truth, the path forward becomes less complicated. The WNBA needs a star protocol, not a written rule that offends the notion of fairness. A practice, clear officiating guidelines about excessive contact away from the ball. Consistent technicals for cheap shots. Early season messaging that physical play is part of the game, but avoidable contact designed to send a message will draw a whistle. Public reinforcement that rivalries will be monitored and managed, not encouraged to explode. Clear decisions about scheduling back-to-backs and travel burdens for high-impact teams. And yes, a marketing plan that centers Clark without isolating her. A rising tide demands more than a single wave. Give rookies like Cameron Brink and Angel Reese polished platforms, but anchor national windows around the Fever, Liberty, Aces, and a rotating slate of teams that pair well with Indiana's draw. This is not rocket science. It is logistics and message management. Stephen A. Smith is easy to lampoon because he shouts. He is also difficult to ignore because he usually brings receipts. He cited the attendance spikes. He named the number of networks setting viewership records. He mentioned charter flights as a direct benefit tied to Clark's commercial gravity. The strong implication wasn't that the WNBA is ungrateful. It was that it is uneasy. People inside and outside the league have spent months arguing about whether Clark gets too much attention, as if attention were a zero-sum resource that can be divided fairly. It isn't. It flows to what compels. Clark compels. The job is to steward, not scold, the current. It is also fair to note another layer of complexity. Optics around race. The WNBA is a majority black league. Some of its greatest standard bearers are black women whose contributions to the sport are foundational. When a white rookie becomes the most talked about player in a matter of weeks, conversations about equity, history, and perception arise. Stephen A., cutting to the chase, said resentment is understandable, but it isn't Clark's problem. A healthier approach emphasizes that Clark's popularity doesn't erase the excellence that came before her. It creates an opportunity to showcase it to new audiences who would otherwise never have looked. It asks leadership to surround Clark with coverage that elevates rivals respectfully. It insists that all boats rise, not because the boats deserve it, but because audiences will stick around for more than one phase if the league gives them compelling reasons to. What happens to the WNBA's ratings, attendance, and merchandise sales in the next few weeks will be a case study in real time. If they hold better than expected, the league can credibly claim it has developed broader storylines that keep fans engaged. If they sag dramatically, the lesson will be as loud as a Stephen A. monologue and just as public. Clark isn't the only reason people watch, but she is the most important one right now. Pretending otherwise would be willful self-deception. This is where the commissioner earns her paycheck. The league's response cannot simply be a get-well-soon tweet and a reshuffled national schedule. It needs an on-court standard and off-court plan. Back the officiating crews with support and clarity. Tell sponsors how you'll amplify the Fever's content even while Clark recovers. Behind-the-scenes features, community events, mic'd-up segments with coaches and teammates. Encourage opposing teams to package Indiana matchups as See the Fever Nights. Women's basketball fans will still come, especially if they're invited, engaged, and treated to on-site experiences that make the arena special. Fix the travel schedule headaches now so that when Clark returns, the Fever aren't marooned in shows of exhaustion. Make it easy for families to watch on TV with consistent windows. And send a message to players, privately and publicly, that the long-term success of the WNBA is not a philosophical idea. It is a paycheck, a benefits plan, and a legacy for the next generation. Stephen A. Smith also said something a lot of executives don't want to hear. Sometimes you have to stand down and ride the wave. He didn't mean surrender standards. He meant accept the obvious and plan around it. Voice the gratitude. Use the momentum. Stop trying to spread credit so thinly that nobody feels rewarded. When Clark returns, don't hide from the Fever's draw. Lean into it. Give Indiana more national dates, not fewer. Package them with the Liberty and Aces and Sky. Create a schedule that anticipates, rather than reacts to, where people want to watch. It's not pandering. It's programming.